Zombie Apocalypse.
How's it going, everybody? This is Abu Dhabi. Hope you're having another great day, and welcome back to another video. Alright, so I did have a video planned today in regards to my favorite video game pickups of this year. However, I'm going to push that back to next weekend because there was something interesting that happened last weekend that I want to talk about here. Those that know me know that I'm a huge fan of motorsports, and one of those that I like to watch is an international motorsport called Formula 1. And last weekend at Abu Dhabi, they had a championship decider that was decided in the most controversial of fashions, and I want to talk about that here in this video. So for this one, I'm going to talk about all the things that happened at the F1 championship last weekend at Abu Dhabi, how it all broke down, and why I think the events of that weekend, in my opinion, is a bad sign of what the FIA and Formula 1 has become. So for those that don't know, Formula 1 is an international motorsport that has almost 20 plus races a year and races tracks across multiple countries around the world. It's pretty much the biggest motorsport in the entire world. And this season was a very exciting season that saw two drivers, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, battle for the championship, and they were tied in points heading into the season finale at Abu Dhabi. Now, before we get to all the featured events that are really going to be more discussed in this video, obviously to break it all down prior to that, not really much happened. Lewis Hamilton got the lead at the very start of the race after Verstappen started on the pole, and from there, Lewis Hamilton had basically just dominated, leading almost every single lap, and Verstappen, even with strategy, he just could not be able to keep up with him. But near the very end of the race was where everything took a very dramatic turn. With about 6 laps to go, I believe Nicholas Latifi actually ended up crashing, and as a result, this ended up producing a safety car period, and I really didn't know if we were ever going to go back racing, because obviously at that time, usually unlike a NASCAR in Formula 1 where there's 6 or 5 laps to go and there's a crash like that, usually there's a good possibility that you're not going to get the race back going there. And at that time, Verstappen had came to pit road to change tires because he felt like with this caution, it would be an opportunity for him to be able to get fresher tires so that way he can challenge Lewis Hamilton. However, there's a good possibility that it may have been the wrong call, because obviously then there wouldn't be enough time to be able to get back up there, because there would be a whole lot of lap cars in between him and Lewis Hamilton by the time the green flag came out, if it did come out. So how this all broke down is that team boss of Red Bull, Christian Horner, pleaded with the FIA to try to get all the lap cars in between him and Lewis Hamilton passed, so that way it can just be the two of them battling for the championship over one lap shootout. Now obviously that was not in the rulebook in the FIA. The thing is, if lap cars are going to go by, it's all of them, especially the ones that were behind the two. And more importantly, if they were to go by, it wasn't until the very next lap afterwards when they all caught back up to the field, in which the field would be able to restart. And so with 2 laps to go, they had not done that yet. So usually if that was the case, the race would pretty much end under caution. However, the FIA ended up creating a very dramatic turn of events when they decided that they were going to let all the lap cars in between Hamilton and Verstappen pass, and then while that was going on, before they even caught back up, waved the green flag for a 1 lap shootout. This was controversial because as the end result, Max Verstappen with his fresh tires was able to overtake Lewis Hamilton for the lead, and he ultimately went on to win the race and the championship. And obviously because of that, there was a whole lot of controversy that took place afterwards. As we all know, Mercedes were trying to appeal this. It ended up being rejected, and they obviously let their intent to appeal the rejection of it. But however, after the FIA revealed recently that they were going to do a full review of their actions at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Mercedes has decided to vote their decision to appeal, and so as a result, Max Verstappen is officially the world champion for the very first time, and the first driver that was not from Mercedes camp to win the F1 championship since 2013. So why is all of this really important? Because this year was a huge year for Formula 1. Obviously here in the United States, it has been continuously getting bigger and bigger and bigger. More Americans have been watching Formula 1 than ever, and honestly the races have gotten a lot more exciting, at least even if it's in the mid-pack when everything in the lead is not really as exciting as it should be. This year was a really big year for Formula 1 in the US. Unfortunately, the events of Abu Dhabi have pretty much tainted the whole entire thing. I'm probably among those that feel like that Lewis Hamilton was robbed of the championship. As we all know, Lewis Hamilton is perhaps one of the greatest drivers in Formula 1. He is equal to Michael Schumacher in championships with 7, and had he won that race, he would have broken it and become an 8-time world champion. He also leads Schumacher in wins, so obviously he could have easily overtaken Michael Schumacher as the GOAT out of Formula One if everything had went to shape for him. But because of this loophole that the FIA and director Michael Massey ended up doing, obviously, Max Verstappen ended up getting his first championship, and he's had a great year. 10 wins, obviously. Yeah, he was inconsistent at times, but 10 wins. He is obviously deserving of a championship, but all night there at Abu Dhabi, he did not race like he deserved to win that championship. He was well off the pace behind Hamilton, and it didn't look like he was going to catch up unless something dramatic happened. And unfortunately, this looks more like the FIA just gifted Max Verstappen the win and the championship. And, all the signs were there that it really led to that decision. But in my opinion, the results are the results, and you just gotta have to live with it. So obviously, why I think this is really important is because Lewis Hamilton is such a great driver, and I feel like he and Max Verstappen both did not deserve what happened there. I mean, Verstappen, I'm sure he would have rather won the championship on the track. The events of that really led to a lot of consternation that the FIA and Formula One have really tarnished what was a great season, and they almost tarnished their image overall as a really great sport in the world. And there are a lot of signs that are leading to that point being true. I mean, first off, there are a lot of questionable calls by the FIA this year, obviously. Like last week, Lewis Hamilton a couple of times, he ended up running Max Verstappen off the road, but he didn't get a penalty, obviously. And then, there was an incident in Monza where Verstappen and Hamilton got together, and it didn't look like there was anything wrong that happened between the two of them. However, Verstappen ended up getting a penalty that led to the next race. And so Michael Massey has led a whole lot of controversial decisions that he made, and this one really was the icing on the cake. And because of that, Toto Wolff, the boss of Mercedes, said that Hamilton has become completely disillusioned. And so as a result of that, he really has no idea if Hamilton was even going to race next season. And that should really be a sign of concern because, Hamilton loves the sport, but as of lately, the FIA have really made a lot of controversial decisions that's really affected the sport overall. And unfortunately, it has really made things a whole lot worse as a result. And so obviously, that's leading to a lot of questions that Wolff really fielded that Hamilton may not even be back in F1 this year, which would really be a bad thing for the sport. I'm going to be honest with you, I do hope that Hamilton does get that record-setting 8th championship. In my opinion, next to Verstappen, he is my favorite driver in F1, and I really do hope ultimately that he does come back and he does eventually get that 8th championship because he did not deserve what happened at Abu Dhabi. It was really his championship for the taking there. And Max Verstappen, as we all know, he is a great driver. Like I said, 10 wins, which is already more than double the amount of wins he had already had his entire career from at least the last 4 years before. I'm sure he did not want to win the championship this way. And so, next year, obviously, he's going to be doing whatever it takes to be able to improve on this and hopefully try to find a way to actually win the championship without any sort of controversial decision from the stewards, and mainly just on the track through performance. And with all the changes that are going to be happening to the cars next season, that really, he could really just do that. But really, my discretion here is with the FIA. Formula One is such a great sport up until that moment. Yes, there was a lot of drama and a lot of intensity, but at the time, they were just more focused on racing, obviously. They were more on producing the excitement at the track, and that's why they go to every single racetrack across the country. Like, Japan, Great Britain, their home base, Mexico, the United States. Of course, we're going to be having more than one race here next year. Next to Austin, there's going to be one in Miami, and there may be a future one in Las Vegas. And that's why Formula One has become much bigger here in the United States. It's gaining a lot more popularity than motorsports like IndyCar and NASCAR and all that stuff, which really has really transformed more into entertainment than it is just racing. And really, Formula One was the last true motorsport in which it was mainly just pure racing. But unfortunately, I fear that because of what happened in Abu Dhabi, it's now starting to feel like that is starting to transform from racing to entertainment as well. And that's really a big problem because Formula One, as a result, has lost a whole lot of credibility. I don't know personally what's going to happen with Michael Massey, in my opinion, whether or not he's going to stay at race director or if he's going to end up having to leave there. But, obviously, there needs to be some changes when it comes to FIA, at least when it comes to their decision making and how they direct the races as well. Because I feel like what happened at Abu Dhabi really tarnished the sport's reputation and really just destroyed what was obviously a great season. And obviously, I feel like that unless they do that, there are going to be a lot of concerns that there's going to be more of the same next season. 2022 is going to be a real big year, but in order for this to be even better than 2021 and hopefully not end in the way that it did this year, there's going to have to be a lot of changes. First off, they need to follow by the rulebook. Obviously, what they did there, they did not follow by the rulebook in my opinion. They just mainly did it just so that way they can try to get a one-lap race to the finish and produce a whole lot of drama as a result. So if they were looking for more entertainment than was just pure racing, they did that, and that obviously in my opinion was not a good thing. Secondly, they need to make sure that whatever decision they make, the drivers and the crews are in line with it as well. You know, as long as it's by the rulebook, they need to make sure that the crews are able to race the way that they want the race to go without ending up interfering in it and obviously affecting the outcome of the race. Remember, Red Bull obviously, they affected the outcome of this race when they asked the FIA to try to see if they can get the lap cars in between him and Hamilton by without knowing that there were other lap cars behind him that also had to go by themselves, and especially how late they did it as well. I feel like that it really affected the outcome of the race right there. And that leads to the next thing as well. You know, teams obviously, they're trying to get the FIA to do things for them, obviously, and I feel like that's wrong. You need to be able to do everything on your own. You know, the only people that you should be communicating with when you're trying to win races is your own driver, not the stewards in the FIA. And I do feel like there needs to be a rule that has to be added in which the teams cannot communicate with the FIA and the stewards to do things like, you know, getting the lap cars between them and the leader by, so that way they can race for the win or for a better position. Because I feel like that's more of like manipulation and it ends up affecting the outcome of the race as a result. And yeah, mainly they just have to do better with decision making. Obviously, Michael Massey, they really screwed up with the results of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and I feel like that as a result, it has really tarnished the reputation of the sport. It really hurt Lewis Hamilton from getting that history-making 8th championship, and as a result, you know, there are a lot of issues here that could really go into a complete down spiral in 2022 if they cannot figure things out right now. And they got almost 3 months until March next year to be able to figure everything out, and I really hope that they do, because I really do feel like 2021 was a great season of Formula 1, and unfortunately it was ruined by that exact moment. I'm still a Formula 1 fan. I love Formula 1. It's probably my favorite motorsport next to IndyCar and NASCAR, and I will continue to watch it next year, and I do hope that the FIA can figure things out. But obviously there's going to have to be some changes in leadership, changes in the way they conduct the races, and more importantly, they gotta go by the rules that they set, and obviously not change them just for the sake of entertainment and all of that. They really need to be able to do that right now, and now's the time for them to be able to do it. And if they don't, there's going to be a lot worse things happening next year in 2022. I just wanted to discuss this because obviously I know this is a big thing that's really been talked about on sports Twitter, obviously. And so I just felt like that I wanted to get my thoughts on this. And so, yeah, I feel bad for Lewis Hamilton. I'm happy for Max Verstappen, but again, it shouldn't have turned out this way. I definitely hope things can get figured out by this time next year. Anyway, so like I said before, my favorite video games of 2021 that I picked up, I will be pushing that to next week. And obviously as a result of that, I'm going to have to push back my last video of the year. Of course, my year-end video is probably going to be more of a mid-week release, obviously, and that's something I haven't done in almost a couple years or so, so it's probably going to be more likely on a Wednesday, on the final week of the year. So next week will be my favorite game pickups of 2021, and I will be discussing that right here on YouTube, so please check out that one. It's going to be another fun video. That's it for another video. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you'd like to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when my latest video is released. As always, be sure to comment below for future suggestions for all my videos, whether it's vlogs, projects, or challenges, you name it. Leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to make them. And as always, follow me on my social media. All the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for another video. Hope you're all having another great day. And as always, I hope to see all of you again in another video very soon. So long, everybody.